So you want to be a registered dietitian? You are in the right place. My name is Jenny Westerkamp, founder of All Access Dietetics, and your host for Dear Future Dietitian, a podcast dedicated to helping you feel more confident in every step of your journey towards that RD credential. Thank you for being here and taking the time to listen to this episode and investing in yourself and your future career. I can already tell you're going to be a rockstar dietitian. Now let's get into it. All right, welcome back to day 2 of the Business Bootcamp. To those of you that were not here yesterday, we were able to really kick it off with talking about my entrepreneurship journey, also the lessons learned, and we ended with 4 business models and dove into the pros and the considerations of each of those models. Then we had a great Q&A from everyone that was on here live. So I'm hoping for another great day 2. It will be a little bit different. And as I said yesterday, this is the first time we've done anything like this, like with business, with All Access Dietetics. We've done some things around starting a private practice at our RD2B virtual summit, but this is really our first entry into seeing if we can help support people, support future dietitians and even new dietitians in the whole world of business. And so we're trying this out, seeing what everyone thinks, seeing what the needs are. And so I'm really grateful that you're here and excited for day 2. So again, I said what we talked about yesterday, but then today we will be talking about how to attract customers. This is my marketing masterclass that I was talking about, where I really wanted to make sure over the course of these 2 days that you had some skill development. And I picked marketing as the one that I thought was the most important, that I wanted to teach you and at least give you that intro to. I mean, we know that in dietetics education, there's not a lot of business skills that are being taught. Of course, there's exceptions to that. There's people that are maybe in MBA programs with their RD, like that whole thing, or, you just happen to take an elective in a business class or whatever it is. It might be included in some course, but it's rare. And I think that getting exposure to these types of skills and then even getting the resources on how to further develop them, of course, will be a really great start and help you just to understand how you do have to educate yourself. You do have to build skills. These aren't things that come naturally. Even if you do feel like you're a natural entrepreneur, there's still plenty to learn and to develop as you go. So we'll talk about that with marketing. And then we will have Libby Rothschild, who's the CEO of Dietitian Boss. She will be joining us. And me and her, we will have a discussion and then do Q&A as well at the end to kind of talk through like how you do take that big leap. What are the first things you think about and some resources to help you take that first leap. I'm going to drop these URLs in the chat real quick just so you can have access to that. The first one is the private practice. If you're looking for resources around private practice, Cultivate Advisors is the advising company that I've worked with for the last 4 years. I've referred to other private practice dietitians. For those of you that missed yesterday, I am starting a private practice in 2023 here in Illinois. Definitely go back to the replay or go to the slides when we send out the slides and you can see all the details on that. But like from yesterday, but they are awesome. And so you can set up a call with me to talk about if they would be a good fit for you. And I can refer you over to that firm, who is the firm that I use and that many dietitians have used to build and scale their private practices. And then for online business, where it's more like social media marketing and kind of selling yourself, showing your face to your audience, Future Dietitian Boss. And Dietitian Boss, which is Libby's company, is great for that. And we do have a training to get you started on that called Future Dietitian Boss. So I'm going to do the links there. And yes, we will email the links to everyone too. That'll be in like the replay and the recap emails that will come out after today. So probably tomorrow. And then the final one is virtual assisting. So that was one of the business models we talked about yesterday. And Make Money as a VA is our training for that. If you're looking to dive into that, it's run by 2 RD2Bs that are VAs, Kat and Aaron. They own an agency. It's pretty awesome. They have an agency of 7 other VAs that work under them, and they work with dietitians and health and wellness professionals doing digital marketing, social media management, other admin, blogging, writing to make money. So they created this training for people that are wanting to get into that. So check out those if any of those are of interest to you. And with that, I will dive in here. If anyone was not here yesterday, feel free to introduce yourself, like I said, just so we can see where everyone's from. All right, so I'm going to talk today about how to attract customers. I, again, chose this because I think marketing is really interesting. I read all the time about it. I've been reading about marketing, different marketing strategies, email marketing, social media marketing, sales calls, everything. I've done a lot of different types of marketing initiatives. And the one quote, I think it was, there's this one, he's on social media a lot. He has a book called $100 Million Offers. He's very, I think he's like very smart, but it's just, he's a big personality, and his name is Alex Hormozi. And his book is great, but the one quote that he said is marketing always works. And I agree with that to a certain extent, because I feel like when you do the principles of marketing beyond even like the 4 Ps that we learned in school or for like the RD exam, when you have the strategy, it works. And it's just a matter of putting in that effort, consistently tweaking it, and just following the strategy. So that is something that I'm always reminded of. But I'm going to tell you about the strategies that I've used that have been really helpful. And hopefully you'll walk away with some really tangible things to think about when you're thinking about a marketing plan for your first business or for your existing business if you are doing that. Now, here's your problem, or here's the problem of a lot of new business owners. For any business, you need to make an effective marketing plan to obviously attract more customers. And you may have tried marketing strategies in the past, or maybe you didn't even have a plan, but you're not seeing the results you're hoping for. My quick introduction just in the marketing realm is, since 2009, I've had an online business. We've built it to 7 figures. We have a big team now, lots of coaches, lots of operation, 4 full-time employees, like 12 consultants. And it's been through effective digital marketing, and obviously a team that has really been the reason for that growth. Through that time, we've been able to sell admissions coaching. Over 2,000 applicants have used our admissions coaching program. And then we got into the RD exam prep space, and over 2,000 students. Now I think that number is 2,600 or so since I did this slide a few months ago with something else I used it for. But yeah, it's been over 2,000 people that we've sold a program to. And then in addition to that, we've also had experience. I've also worked with dietetics programs to help them bring awareness to their program and help them market. So kind of being like an agency for marketing. And then they will do dedicated emails or social media with us, but it'll be this very well thought out strategic campaign to help them get more interest in their programs. So in all these different areas, I've been using these types of principles to get results, whether it's for our own company, for programs, and then of course, for our customers. But marketing is complicated. So you think about the limited support that you might have, or the time to do it, the budget that you have. I know for the first 10 years of All Access Dietetics, there was no marketing budget. It was just me trying to do things. I was like paying myself technically to do that. Now I was able to hire someone that runs our marketing. So, those are things that just take time, but there is that constraint. And then there can be competition in whatever you're trying to do. There can be wasted resources. There could be doing the same thing over and over again and not looking at the feedback or the data around it. There could be understanding even who your ideal customer is. That's a big part of your marketing that you need to think through. Then there's digital marketing learning curves. Like I did not know how to use an email marketing platform like MailChimp, or we use now ActiveCampaign, which is even more complex. I didn't know how to do that at the beginning when I signed up for it, but I was like, I have to learn it. And then, there's the risks of the business. If you can't market well, then you can't sell what you're trying to sell, then that's a risk for you. Okay, so warning, listing off all the facts about your program or your offer is not a marketing plan. There's way more to this. Okay, so the agenda today is we're going to talk about 3 strategies to sell your offer and then talk through the marketing plan. You will learn how to create a marketing plan where the customer is more likely to believe that you can solve their specific problems, connect emotionally, feel more ready to take the next step towards purchasing, trust that your offer is a great fit for them, make that purchase, and then become an ambassador of your company. That's the dream, right? With any marketing plan. And I'm watching the questions too, but we might push questions a little bit towards the end after this section. The other thing I wanted to point out that I didn't mention today was I did make these slides very wordy, so you didn't have to write anything down. You will get the slides, and I was trying to just make them really valuable so that if you go, months from now and you're ready to start your business, you can dive back into them and have a lot more context. I know that wordy slides is not a good PowerPoint strategy. I'm very aware of that, but I purposely made it so it felt more like a reference that you could use later on, because I know a lot of you might be in school and not actually ready to do all this business building right now. 3 strategies to sell your offer. So first, when you're thinking about what you're actually offering, you want to ask yourself a bunch of these questions. So what is the problem that the offer is going to solve? And think through that, because this is the type of thought process that the customer or your future client would be going through as well. So you want to know what they're thinking when you're thinking of how you'd be talking about your offer. So how is this going to help me get the blank that I want? With nutrition, and maybe I'll just go with sports nutrition if that was my specialty. How is this going to help me do better or perform better? Or how is this going to help me get a contract with an international league or help me get drafted in the NFL? Whatever it is. Is it flexible to meet my interests or my life situation? Is there going to be any barriers to me working with this sports nutritionist? This is what the client's thinking. Does it solve a problem that will make my life better? Think through what those exact problems are that they have that you would be making better through your service or your offer. Is this going to be a good fit for me? Will I feel like I belong? And how do you show that they are your type, they would fit well with you? Will I like the experience of having this offer? So how can you add in the details and the color around what it's really like? What's the behind the scenes feeling of being a client of yours? Do current and past customers enjoy this offer? So where's the social proof? Where's the testimonials? Where are the stories? Are there other people using this? And can they see that very clearly? So remember, they're not just deciding based on how many initial appointments you have or how many follow-ups or the facts and figures, kind of here's the price point, here's what you get. They're not making a decision based on that. They're making a decision based on how this is going to help them solve the problem and all these other questions. So here's the 3 strategies that you want to think about. And this is very much not my original idea. These are things that I've learned from studying marketing. And one big contributor to this idea is his name is Donald Miller. And Donald Miller, I have the titles on a few slides later, but Donald Miller has a book called Marketing Made Simple. And then he also has a book, Building a Story Brand. And so a lot of his marketing is around story, but then also these concepts that I'll talk about how to position your customer as the hero and you as the guide. And then knowing what that problem is that you're solving and the transformation that they're going under. And that's a really different way. I was not thinking about it like that before. It was really just, here's what I have to offer. Here's why you should buy it, or here are the benefits, but kind of leaving it at that. I would say this gets much deeper and allows you to be able to add words to your website or to email campaigns or on your social media to get this message across that they're the hero, you're the guide, and here's the transformation that they're going to go under. I've really condensed it for the purpose of today. I want to keep this to 30 minutes, but definitely recommend those books to dive deeper into these ideas. So number 1, you make your customers the hero. And you go through these questions. I won't read through all of them. You'll have these as a reference. But the idea is that the more you understand who you're trying to guide, the better you're going to be able to market to them. And this is where they say, how you can narrow down and niche down into more specific types of people. That can be, one way to do it. And with dietitians, they go into specialties. But if you're not thinking like private practice, you might be thinking of just more of a specific problem that you're trying to solve and then getting more clear on that as opposed to different populations, if that makes sense, or different personas. The action step would be, and this might be more when you get going, but talking to your current or past customers or even your closest friends and families and ask them 1 to 2 things that made them want to purchase or would make them want to purchase, and ask them what problem they're trying to solve specifically. So by knowing more about your customers, you know how you can be their hero. Be their guide. And they're the hero. They're the ones that are going through this and trying to have that transformation. And you're the guide helping them do that. So that goes into number 2, positioning your business as the guide. How will you solve their specific problems? How can you create that transformation? Why should they choose you? And this is where you want to have that confidence that you can guide them. You can help solve their specific problems. You want to make sure that it's clear and easy to understand, like what that journey would look like for them. And remember, like something that Donald Miller says, he says, if you confuse, you lose. So you want it to be very clear. I'll give you an example just so we can put this into a little bit more concrete terms, like with our admissions coaching program that we have called Get Match Coaching. The customer, the applicant, is the hero. We're the guide. We are guiding them through this transformation of becoming a confident applicant. And we are showing them how we're going to do that. We're giving behind the scenes look at from like a video of what it's like to have coaching. We're showing images of people that have used it, the testimonials and why they purchased. That's all on our website. We even go through the barriers that they might have that we will guide them through. So if the investment is an issue, then we're talking about payment plans. If they're not sure when to even start, we're guiding them through that. We're really trying to be like we're coaching them through making the purchase even, which is really like the beginning of what you're trying to do, which is coach them and mentor them through that transformation. But it actually starts from the moment they might even be interested in what you offer. So if you take on that type of mindset, then your marketing actually becomes more like you're really just trying to help them make that decision. And that's a really good way to think about it, as opposed to it being very like you're not thinking as much about the customer, and you're thinking more about yourself and like why I'm the best, why you should choose me. Like, look at me, I have the RD credential, I have all this experience. Well, that could be a small part of it, but the majority of it should be about how you help them. And that changes everything. A really quick example is like on the about page of if you have a website, it should be really focused on the about of like on All Access Dietetics about page. It's like, we support future dietitians. Like, we're all about helping meet the needs of future dietitians. We've been doing it in all these different ways. And, that's our about page. It's not, there is like a bio, I think, on me or whatever, but it's not the main part of the page. So it's like the primary message is very much about them and the people you're helping. All right, the third piece of the philosophy is eliciting emotion with frosting stories. So same cake, different frosting. This is what I like to say when I'm thinking even about any type of thing. Like when we have the RD exam prep, there's many different cakes out there that are helping people with the same problem of passing the RD exam, or let's say many dietitians out there helping people eat better for whatever it is they're dealing with. But there's a frosting, right? There's something different about your approach, about the offer, about the model, about how you're delivering it, about maybe the types of people that you have do it. And that's what you're trying to focus in on and then tell story around. So they say, the psychologist Jerome Bruner says, a fact wrapped in a story is 22 times more memorable. This also goes into the storytelling and the philosophy of using story to sell through Donald Miller's books. And then using video, peer-to-peer stories, helping the customers just really feel like, this could be something for them. The action step here, when you're thinking about this part of the marketing plan, is creating a plan for how you will get that customer generated content once you get going. And video is always really good. It's really powerful. There's this, what do we use? We use something called Video Ask, but you could, of course, that's a paid thing right now, but you could see how it works and then try to model that in a free type of way. But it's a way to get that video testimonial from people that really enjoyed their experience with you, or, customers or clients, whatever that is. So here's the quick summary, then we'll get into the marketing plan. And so with this, remember, you're making the applicant the hero. You're positioning yourself, your program, your offer. And I say make applicants, sorry. So make like your customers the hero. Position your offer as the guide, and then elicit emotion with those frosting stories. And that will help create an emotional connection for what you're offering. And these are the 2 books that I mentioned before. That would be good. Now let's go into the 4 steps. There's more, there's many things here, but these are the basics. I learned a lot about this through my business coaching that I had, and just understanding kind of the steps that you take someone through. I remember being told how marketing is kind of like dating. You don't ask for marriage on the first date. You take them through the phases. You go through different phases, and that basically like warms up the lead or the prospect, and then allows you to get that sale. I will say a lot of this does deal with more service-oriented offerings, but I figured that was pretty applicable, since a lot of you were interested in private practice, or even trying to get clients for VA, for virtual assisting, or trying to fill up a group program or sell a course. So it should be applicable for all those models. So with the customer attracting marketing plan, you have the 4 levels. You have awareness, lead generation, sales funnel, and then the one-to-one meeting, which is optional. It doesn't have to be for every type of program. Typically, the higher the price point, the more likely a one-on-one meeting would be a good thing to do. Number 1 with awareness. So awareness at top of the funnel, it's like you're just putting your profile out there on Tinder or whatever dating app. I'm trying to give you an analogy here, but it's really like that first awareness, like just knowing that you exist. So that would be your website, your social media. Maybe you're going to an event, you're speaking at an event, whatever that is. This initial stage is like meeting you for the first time, and you just want to get people to take the next step only, not to actually purchase. That would be like saying, hey, we have this free toolkit. We have this free, you can do a free call with me, like whatever it is, something that, or like, come join me for this webinar. That would be the lead generator step. And so that's what you're asking them to do. That's, we'll talk about that next. But you do want to prioritize when you are talking on your website, on your social media, at an event. You want to prioritize the transformation they are looking for through that philosophy we just talked about, through that hero guide frosting type of approach. And then in kind of this introduction, like when you are trying to talk through like, hey, here's who I am, what we do. So if I think about All Access Dietetics, like when we're maybe just doing an intro type of reel, or it's on our website or through a sales page, we're trying to go through all of these components on there. So you're saying you're making the customer the hero, you're defining the problem. So, hey, we know you're an applicant, you're going through a really stressful time. You define the problem. You've never done this before. You've never gone through applications before. It can be really confusing. And then you are a guide with a solution. Like here's Get Match Coaching. With Get Match Coaching, you will get matched to a coach. You will follow a set curriculum of step-by-step of exactly what you're going to do. You're going to be able to get all your materials, reviewed by an expert coach. And, that's how it'll all go down. And then the clear call to action is, if you want a taste of what our confidence method is that we teach through Get Match Coaching, you can get our free application toolkit. So get that, sign up for that, and you'll be able to see for free the strategies that we use when we're helping people become confident applicants and get into their top choice. Here's then the next thing would be discussing the potential for failure. We know that not everyone gets into their top choice, and some people may even give up entirely on the process of becoming a dietitian because they're so confused by this. We don't want that to be you. So get our free application toolkit, because we know it's going to help you and help you feel more confident just immediately once you start looking at it. Check out this story here of success. We have this client, Sam, who went through the process. She was able to get into her top choice. And we know that, I'd go more into that, but that would be the whole story. So hopefully that makes sense. So you can see how it flows. You can see how that introduction is a lot more powerful when it has all those different components in it. So with your website, with awareness, that's where a lot of times people will go. They'll see it for the first time to understand what it is you do. Some big mistakes that I've seen on just any business website would be not having any video. If they're not speaking to customers. So you have to look and say, are you using a lot of I, or we on the website, when really you should be using a lot of you and you language. So that would show that you understand them and that you're speaking about them, and it's more about them, the hero, than you. If it's too wordy or disorganized, that's not good. If you're not including your frosting, meaning if I can go to your website, if you're a dietitian with a private practice, if I can go to your website and you have nothing really that's unique about you or what you do or your approach or your story, then, how am I going to make the decision between your going with you and going with someone else who has a similar website as well? And then finally, no lead generator to capture emails. That's really important as we get into this next phase where we want to make sure you're collecting emails and doing marketing with that. So the second level is lead generators, where you're capturing the email in exchange for value. You do want to make that very easy to get. Just drop your email, DM me your email, DM me this word, and I'll DM you back with the information, whatever it is to get their information. This allows you to identify those interested people that are just taking that small step forward towards you. It attracts new customers as well, people who just see oh, wow, you have value. Now they're trusting you. Let's see what they have. And they're just intrigued. And it positions you as the guide, because your lead generator should be something that shows that you know what their problems are, what they're going towards. Here are some examples that you can have as reference for lead generators, depending on how that fits into your business model. And then we'll go into the third level, which is the sales funnel. And the sales funnel typically is going through email marketing, and that would be the best way to do it, because it is a little bit more intense, and you do want to have multiple messages with different types of themes to them. This sales funnel is something that I learned through Donald Miller and his approach with marketing made simple. And I think it's really great, because what it does is it allows you to build trust throughout the funnel and through the campaign. So you'll share what the lead generator was, we're going to give you this application toolkit, or we're going to give you these 5 free days of healthy snacks that you can pack, or whatever it is, or here's my 7 breakfast recipes for the week, whatever. And then you go into, after that, the second email would be talking about the problem that they have that you can solve. And then the credibility and testimonials via story, objections that you would want to talk about, a lot of people don't have time to meet with a dietitian, or people's schedules are really busy. We offer this online scheduling, and you talk through that very directly, not assume that the potential customer could get to that conclusion on their own. So you're kind of going headfirst at why they would not want to do something and show them how they can overcome it. Then there's the applicant FAQs, customer FAQs, which would be things that have just come up that you're just trying, again, to reduce the barrier and make them feel empowered and kind of coaching them through the decision. And then there's the story that you could add in here, which could be up to 3 emails that you would be sending. And then a call to action, that's where you're actually saying hey, I'd love to have you enroll, or start or work with me and be very direct about it. But at this point, you've done so much work to warm them up and to get them really interested that they're much more ready for this message than if it was coming to them, right away, right after that lead generator was given to them. And then add some sense of urgency around it, following up and helping them just close the gap between them thinking about it and actually doing it. And I know this, for some people, like, this is like, whoa, this seems like really intense, but these are the basics of a solid marketing plan, especially in the online world and digital marketing, which is what pretty much everything is now. I did see a question come through around like how this marketing would happen if you're trying to market to providers or to physician practices, if it's like a traditional private practice. And it would honestly be very similar. You might have a special page on your website that would be speaking to physicians. So they would be like your hero. And you would have a page that was like, that page is where you would direct them, first of all, to have them see, what you have to offer and talk through how you're going to help their client outcomes be better and how you finally will have a trusted person that you can refer all of your X type of patients to. And you really like show them what's in it for them and the transformation they can have and how you follow back up with them about their clients. And you can be very collaborative, like all the things that they would want to hear. Then that would be what you would start with. And then think about like what value you can give them, whether it's, hey, use this free ebook for your patients about healthy eating or general healthy eating diet. And then you can go from there. Like they would be able to, you'd get their email and then be able to have check-ins and talk through these points that I'm saying. It would just maybe not be automated. It'd be maybe more personalized, but you're trying to go through those same ideas. So you might send an email that's like, oh, I just wanted to pop in your inbox because I actually had a cardiac patient this week and we were able to, he came back and he dropped, 7 points on his LDL cholesterol. It just made me think of how I wanted to reach out. I know you have a lot of patients like this. Please let me know if I can be of help to you to help your patients. So that would be how I'd be changing it, not speaking to the customer, I'm speaking to the referral source. And then, if it does feel overwhelming, I think like starting, if I were to say like start, like definitely still trying to get emails, trying to get people that are interested, and then starting slow with maybe 3 emails that you would send over the course of the first month that you got their contact information to lead them towards a decision of working with you. But it is a lot, but I will say it really works and it's really effective. And so it's just a matter of you slowly building up to this, I guess. But the principles of guiding them slowly, that's really important because I don't think you can shortcut that. I think you do have to build trust and give value first and then sell to them from there. You can't just shortcut it to just the selling. And finally, this is optional. This was an optional part of the whole funnel, and that would be a one-on-one meeting where this would be what you might see as like a discovery call, a sales call, where you're really trying to get the person on the phone so that you can talk through them very authentically, almost like a mentor where you can guide them through the decision. There's a lot here with this. There's so many strategies around. This is like more so sales now than it is marketing, but I just put it in there to kind of show you how you could close that and kind of close the sale through that sales process. But again, you're doing the same thing where you're using the hero guide story strategies and you're trying to be the guide even before they're the customer. And so then Danielle here says like, AKA a consultation. Yes, that would be a consultation. It might be shorter. It might be a little bit geared more, not so much around the problems that they have, like the nutrition problems they have, because that would be a little bit more just like free advice, but more guiding them through the decision of even working with a dietitian. Like, is this something that's a good fit for them? Do they have the finances to do it? Like, guide them through the decision as their problem, not so much the nutrition, if that's what you're offering. So there's the summary of a core marketing plan with awareness, lead generator, sales funnel, and then one-on-one meeting. All of that equals business growth. Great. Okay. So I'm kind of running a little behind, but please let me know if you have questions here. Let me see. We had one question come in. Do you suggest they complete any kind of intake form before this call? You could take a look even at our Get Match coaching page. You can see our intake form before people get on a call, if that'll help you give you some ideas of the questions that you could ask them. All right. So next I have, and I see her on here, Libby Rothschild, who's the CEO of Dietitian Boss. We're going to get into this final section of the boot camp and close it out with a discussion with her. Hey, we interrupt this episode to give you a discount. That's right. As being a loyal listener of the Dear Future Dietitian podcast, you can use code PODCAST for $20 off anything in our RD exam prep or in our career toolkits. So that means you could get $20 off the Pass the Exam Prep Binder, $20 off the Pass Class RD Exam Prep Program. You can also get $20 off any of our courses, like the Get Hired course if you're job searching, or even a real world toolkit like real world clinical, real world sports nutrition. There's a geriatrics one and a counseling one. So enjoy that $20 off with code podcast at allaccessdietetics.com. Are we here? Hi, Libby.
Hi.
Well, I want to introduce you to Libby Rothschild, who is, again, the CEO of Dietitian Boss, and I'll let her introduce herself, and then we will take questions, or we'll do a discussion questions and then take your questions.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me here. And that was a really fun conversation, Jenny. So I enjoyed learning all about the marketing and sales funnel, really important stuff that Jenny was reviewing. So it was nice to pop in during that. So for those of you, if we haven't met yet, my name is Libby Rothschild. I am a clinical dietitian and the founder of Dietitian Boss. My company helps registered dietitians and students start, grow, and scale a private practice, specifically an online private practice. So I'm known for helping dietitians get clients online and create online programs, whether that be a course, a membership, group coaching, or online coaching, or a variety combination of any type of programming that you can sell online. And a big part of successful online programming is marketing. As Jenny mentioned, digital marketing, meaning anything on the internet, whether that be SEO, website, social media, email marketing. Those are all really important aspects of how people know you exist. And digital marketing is much more effective and efficient than traditional marketing. So being able to incorporate, like what Jenny's talking about, email marketing with doctor's referrals or in-person, more traditional kind of concepts that we might be more familiar with in terms of having people know we exist is really important. So I'm happy to be able to be here today and talk to you all about questions you might have. So as a reference here, if you're not familiar with my work, I just popped in a video to talk about alternative career paths for those of you that might not be familiar, or you might have heard, but you might not really understand all of what the options are out there. I know that Jenny and All Access talk a lot about dietitians working beyond a clinical job, but clinical still is the most popular trajectory according to the statistics from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So a big reason, a big part of my motivation and my company's mission is to create more private practice operators. Currently, only 8% of dietitians own a business. And I think it's partially just because we're not really conditioned in school. We don't know what the options are. So I always get excited to talk about what the ideas and options are and what dietitians are doing to not only make money, but also find enjoyment and satisfaction with growing an online business. So happy to talk about that today. I've served over 1,000 dietitians. I've got a team of 7, and I have a membership that's affordable for dietitians. And then we also offer masterminds and coaching for those of you who are looking for more high-touch support from me and my team. So a lot of options to help dietitians at different stages, from just getting started to hiring a team to scaling your online private practice. So if anyone has any general kind of thoughts, or just to make sure you all are here during the transition from that important conversation about marketing and sales to now our discussion, feel free to let us know in the chat. Just kind of any, maybe you just share where you're based, or in the chat, pop in if you have any thoughts that come to mind when we talk specifically about online private practice. If you have any kind of, maybe what's the first word or thought that comes to your mind, partially just so I know that y'all are here and awake, because I'm in New Jersey and it's almost 8 p.m. So I myself am getting a little sleepy. So help make sure that we're all here alive tonight. That would be super cool if you could pop something in the chat. Otherwise, Jenny, what you got for me?
Yeah, here we go. So when I was thinking like we're doing this business boot camp, I have to invite Libby, the dietitian boss, to this and to be a part of this. So, I wanted to spend time talking about, and we're seeing people pop in from different parts of the country.
Yes.
And some people that are, some people anxious about IG marketing, which is interesting.
Cool.
Instagram marketing. But I think like, definitely I want to spend it probably like 10 minutes just discussing kind of like real talk around entrepreneurship, because I think that like future dietitians, we see, and even when I was a future dietitian, it's like, oh, you look and you see Joy Bauer on the Today Show, and then this person has this huge private practice in New York City, and there's just this like glamour around it. And while it actually can be glamorous, I do want to give this like real world, like, what are the reasons that entrepreneurs maybe want to give up? Or where is it that people think like, oh, maybe there is a downside to this? And I want to start with the negative a little bit, just to be a little bit more like real, but then we'll certainly talk about the positives after that.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for that. And I was just trying to keep up with chat over there. So thanks. I see a couple Michigan, a couple Chicago, super cool. So thanks for letting us all know where you're at. And thanks, Jenny. Yeah, this is such a fun discussion. I'm so happy to be a part of it. And you all got such great information from Jenny in terms of funnels. It's all really important stuff. And just as a reminder, it's all part of skill building. So it's just one step at a time. It's all things that we can learn. It's just a matter of being patient and kind to ourselves and finding a community like you all have tonight by showing up.
Definitely. So I guess when we're thinking of just kind of the harder parts of being an entrepreneur or the business side, I know for me, like I definitely knew like I was personally just like a little bit more confident in myself. I was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to figure it out. Like, I'm just going to figure this out and I'm going to kind of put my blinders on, not care what other people think. And just go for it. And, and sometimes there would be like, am I doing the right thing? Like, does this even make sense? And you kind of find yourself sort of alone in it, because you're like, well, only I know this business. I know, I'm the only one running it. But you kind of I've learned a lesson like around just getting the support, getting the help, getting the team, getting more people involved. It doesn't feel so alone anymore. But I think at the beginning, before you can even have a team, that does feel pretty lonely. So it's something that you kind of have to get through. Do you have anything to say about that or like to add to that?
Well, firstly, that you went right in for it, Jenny. So these are the serious issues. So just like anything, there are pros and cons. And I think that part of the reason it feels lonely, you'll hear that it feels lonely to own a business in general, but especially in the dietitian world, is because such a small percentage of us own a practice. And so it can feel almost like we're the black sheep, right? We're the ones that are doing something super different. If you are starting a private practice, or even more so creating online courses and building your email lists and things that are non-traditional. So that's why, number one, it's important to practice compassion and to be kind to yourself the same way we practice compassion for those who we serve, whether we are already, working as a clinical dietitian or in any other capacity, or whether you're a student, right? And you've gone through your rotations and you understand what it means to be compassionate towards others. We have to remind ourselves to be compassionate for ourselves and for where we're at. And then also finding community. So finding like-minded people. I know Jenny and I have discussed these topics about entrepreneurship, about giving back to our communities and providing value. So building relationships is important, and building relationships in person if you have local communities, and also making an effort to do so online. There's a lot of dietitians that are engaging online, and doesn't mean you're going to click with everybody, but I think it's important to take those small steps and build community. So number one, compassion to yourself and with where you're at, and remembering that that's important to be kind. And then number 2 would be building a community, whether it be online, in person, or both. And then I would say number 3 would be baby steps. So thinking about the small actions that you can take, because it can feel really overwhelming. But, you mentioned a team, Jenny, and all of that, what Jenny is talking about is important at every stage. When you're first starting out, when you're in pre-contemplation stage and you're thinking of starting, and when you are taking action. So I think that's why it's important to think about where are you at now and reflect on what feels challenging. And that's why I appreciate Jennifer Lowe in the chat there saying, Instagram feels anxious. And that's great because it's a reflection for you to ask yourself right now, what is making you uncomfortable? And sitting with that discomfort and acknowledging that discomfort is part of the process. Because if you can identify what your barriers are, maybe it's tech, maybe it's judgment, right? Fear of what will people think? Do I look silly? Right? And just saying that out loud is helpful in your process of working through all of the just kind of weirdness that it feels when you're starting something new. And it's brave and courageous, but it also feels strange. And so I just want to acknowledge that that's part of the process. And you're not the only person to feel that way, which is why it can feel so comforting to find some friends.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, there's something about learning how to be comfortable with the discomfort. And I think that's probably just a really very much like a life lesson that everyone learns. And then you learn it almost more quickly as an entrepreneur because you're forced to. And it's almost like you have no choice but to do that. If that's the path you want to go on, you have to, with the compassion for yourself, but keep getting uncomfortable. And keep getting to that growth of not like the growth of your business, but the growth of yourself, which
absolutely. And one other thing I want to mention in addition to that, because that's super important, is to remember why you're doing it. So when you're feeling uncomfortable and frustrated, that's why vision boards can be helpful, affirmations. Even just you writing down a statement like I am capable, I am a private practitioner, whatever statement makes you feel empowered, because there are days that you'll feel tripped up with technology, that you'll feel, oh my gosh, I went to school with that person and now they're not acknowledging me. Like those are all, those feelings are normal. So remembering why you're doing it. For example, maybe you want to pay off student debt. Right? Maybe you really are excited about making a certain dollar amount so you can quit your job and become full-time. So whatever that means to you, having that personal connection can be really helpful when you're feeling frustrated, which is part of growing and building and doing something new, like Jenny, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Another angle I want to talk about is, because these are mostly future dietitians, they're just in that exploratory mode. I know I was trying all sorts of different things on, and you go through your rotations and you're still just trying to figure out what's right for me. Yeah. That you got half the people that are I know for sure I want to be an entrepreneur. I know this is definitely what I'm going to do. I think I kind of fell into that camp. I knew I wanted to do my own thing. But then you have people that are not sure. There is some fear or barrier, whatever that is. How do you kind of guide someone to help them explore? Because maybe it isn't a good fit for them, and that's fine because, it's not for everyone. But how do you help them explore if being an entrepreneur is really the right thing for you? And if it's just simply the fear that's holding them back?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's also why I'm a huge fan of starting on the side. So you can build something small and test it, because entrepreneurship is a lot of testing anyway. Testing what works, testing feedback from your clients. So one thing that I did when I was working as a clinical dietitian is I started doing some consulting on the side as a private practitioner. And as you mentioned, Jenny, with exploring interests, I did consulting for a restaurant. I did teaching. I developed curriculum. I did speaking. I did workshops. I did a lot of stuff. And I was exploring, obviously, making money on the side, but also exploring what stuck, what felt good, what was sustainable. And in that journey of building additional revenue streams, because that was my private practice, but also working my 9-to-5 clinical job, I was able to kind of explore what worked best. And that process of testing helped me build skills that were translatable to my full-time private practice when I decided to use online marketing, which meant at the time I was I was building my practice from referrals. So I would do teaching and speaking, and then people would refer me to other people that would hire me, right? And then people would refer me to do workshops, and it was all through word of mouth, which was great. And I was so excited because at that time, my confidence was a little lower. And I thought to myself as a new clinician, can I do this, right? And so I built my confidence. I was improving my interpersonal skills, and that helped give me the confidence to then use online marketing, right? Build my email list, which is an asset, something that, I own. And then I built a course, and then I did online coaching, right? And I would build from one step and one offer at a time. So I think that doing something on the side is such a great way for you to test what you enjoy. And when I say on the side, that could mean building an online course. That could mean building your email list. Which is still a free offer. So ideally, you would also be promoting something that you have for pay, but just thinking about what can you do and test on the side and explore. And it doesn't have to take 30 hours a week, right? You can do something small, but it's the idea of getting yourself into that habit.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And yeah, as my quick background too on my journey, I didn't go full time with All Access Dietetics until 10 years in. and that was maybe for a couple other reasons of trying to do sports dietitian work on the side too. But there is a journey, and none of it was a waste of time either. And there is no timeline to where you have to get everything to where you're all in full time. There's so much to learn and so many things. I mean, even now with this new private practice I'm starting, I'm going to be leveraging things that were not entrepreneurial to help this entrepreneurial venture, 10 years later. So I really loved what you said about the exploratory. The more you can pick up all those little things, you learn more about yourself and you develop and you get that confidence. And that's really the journey that you go on for forever in your career.
Yeah. And also just to add to that, it can improve your confidence. And we all have different financial situations. You might live with your family, you might live with a partner, you might be alone. I mean, some of you might have higher debt from school. So, obviously you want to look within and ask yourself, what's capable for what I can do right now? Mm-hmm. And I think, at least for me, taking care of myself financially at the time, I wasn't married. When I built my private practice revenue streams, I needed to make money. I had to do something. I wasn't paid enough at my clinical job. I didn't have a choice. So I had to do something, but I wasn't able to kind of connect all the dots and make it be enough money to leave my full-time job. So I think building something on the side is such a beautiful option. And so thank you for sharing that too, Jenny, because there are ways to do it where it's not going to take forever, right? In terms of how many hours you contribute per week. But I just want to mention that it really felt creative for me and I enjoyed it. And my favorite part of being practicing as a dietitian, I'm now, not practicing because I'm a full-time business coach for dietitians. But when I look back, my favorite part was this side work that I did specifically with developing and teaching curriculums. I loved it the most. And I wouldn't have been able to explore that if I hadn't tried testing how to make money in different ways. So I learned a lot from it. And there's a question there from Danielle. If we get a chance, I'll answer more of them. But you're asking about how long it takes. It can depend on a lot of factors, including what you're offering, what your marketing strategy is, if you have set goals. So it depends on a few different things, if you're taking insurance. So it can depend on a few things, Danielle. But typically, for you to receive a profit, now there are people who can do it sooner. It can take up to a year or so to get your practice full time. Again, full-time depends on your revenue goals, et cetera. Some of you might be looking to only make a couple grand. Some of you are looking to make 8 to 10 grand. So it depends on a lot of factors, Danielle. What I think would be helpful for those of you who are wondering how long would be for you to first think about how much money do you need to make? What are your goals? And then what are you offering and what's your marketing plan, which is all of what Jenny talked about in terms of how are you getting clients? What's your strategy? So there's a few dots to connect to answer that because you have to define what that means to you, which is the beauty, but it's also can feel overwhelming sometimes in terms of having to make those decisions, which is the life of an entrepreneur. We have to make a lot of decisions. And it's a skill that you can build, but it is part of being an entrepreneur. When you're an employee and let's say you go into a clinical job, you're told, okay, you have to, do these assessments. You have to see 8 patients a day or whatever. I know I had to. That was my expectation as an outpatient dietitian. You clock in, you clock out. You're told what to do. But when you are an entrepreneur, whether you're building it on the side or full time, you have to create that outline. You have to hold yourself accountable. So there's different skills that are needed that are learnable, but it's a different way that you're using your brain.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I forget that if your responsibility for making decisions is like so much lower and then so much higher as an entrepreneur. I forget the difference is there.
And it goes full circle, Jenny, to what you asked earlier in terms of, how do you know that you can be an entrepreneur and that you have what it takes? I believe it's accessible to anybody, and you have to define what success is to you, because I know entrepreneurs that do it on the side and they're totally happy, and that's cool. You don't have to make 6 or 7 figures, but if you do want to, that's great too. It's possible. It's just a different skill. And so I just want to remind you all, what you said, Jenny, you're going to have to learn how to be decisive and make decisions. You're going to have to learn how to solve problems, which, by the way, is the number one skill employers look for in employees, is your ability to problem solve anyway. So you can, all the skills you learn as an entrepreneur will make you a better employee if you choose to be a clinician as an employee of somebody else. But just keep in mind that the skill building that's needed will be different than what you've learned in school. And it's challenging and exciting, but that can also cause some friction. So we're just, trying to be honest in terms of what to expect.
Yeah, this is the real talk that we're trying to give you around it, so that you just can be more informed. I think the more information you have about anything, the better it is. I do want to talk, because there was a couple of good questions here in the side, and we can kind of move into questions if anyone wants to drop those in, because we have a few more minutes, and then we'll stay if there's more questions. But Tangela says, there's a lot of saturation with RDs, health coaches, all these experts online. Can you speak more about differentiating yourself from the competition, which I know your program really goes into a lot, like around social media marketing and how to show your face. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So firstly, thanks for the question, Tangela. And thank you everyone for engaging, because it's really cool that we know where your head's at. We want to make sure we're here and we're engaging with what you want to talk about. One of the ways that you can stand out is to identify, this is a business principle. How are you different from other people? And I know that, Jenny, you were talking about the story brand, which is Donald Miller. So I'm going to go ahead and throw out one of my favorite references, which is called The Purple Cow from Seth Godin. And he is one of, if not the most famous marketers. He's originally a book publisher. He's written over 20 books. He's amazing if you want to check out Seth Godin. And it's the concept, a business principle. Yes. Thanks, Jenny, for typing that in for, a book to read. The thought is that when you're thinking about the planning stage of business, right, which is kind of getting your ducks in a row, what are you offering? What's your marketing strategy, as Jenny mentioned earlier, those pieces you're putting together. One of those pieces that you're thinking about is, how am I different and unique? And what transformation am I providing for the people I serve? And it's such a fundamental part in business that a lot of people like to gloss over. So that's a big way that you can stand out. Tangela, is if you think about, what is it that you're providing people with? Are you helping them with a specific transformation that you're giving them? And if you're not sure what that means right now, thinking about it and talking to people about focusing on what problems they have is a good start. So ideally, you will have a clear message. It's called an elevator pitch or a value proposition. You might have heard it, although those might be jargony business terms, but it's the idea that you can tell people how you solve their problem. So you always want to think about asking people and learning how to converse about, what are you struggling with? And so, for example, when I used to work in peds, it was, how do I feed my child to grow? Right? When I worked in diabetes, what do I eat to manage my A1C? Right? Those are all problems. So if you think about the problems people have and you position yourself as an expert, that'll help you stand out. That's the first phase. There's a lot of phases to this question, but I would say that's the good first step, Tangela. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that. Thanks for asking the question.
Yeah, that's great. And then this other question came through. Do you think working in a private practice setting before becoming an employer yourself could be beneficial? Meaning, would it be helpful to be an employee before you have employees? I think that's what you say.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of my taglines, I have a couple taglines. One of them is show your face. And the other one is that you don't need 2 years of clinical experience. So I believe that as dietitians, we have the experience from our schooling, from our internship to get started. So it's a personal choice in terms of how you want to grow. And of course, we're all growing and learning and becoming mentored in some aspect to improve our skill set, whether they're clinical and or business skills. But a lot of times when we are thinking about how much more experience we need, it's our brain trying to create an excuse for us to not learn and put ourselves in those scary environments. So I hear you because I did it myself. I went and worked in clinical for 5 years, right? And so I get it. I did it too. But I want to encourage you to think about, is something holding you back from starting on the side, or what are those fears? I know Jenny and I earlier talked about getting them on paper and verbalizing them, as you have here, about things feeling scary. So the more you're able to talk about it, the more you can identify what's really underneath that fear. So let us know, Danielle, if you have any fears underneath that fear, if there's anything holding you back from just starting now. And then I see there's another question from Lilik. I don't know if I said that correctly. Lilik, I hope I pronounced that correctly. And it's kind of the same type of question about, should I have solid experience before making an online course? You don't need solid experience. A course can help you package nutrition information that is a transformation. So you want to be solving a problem. People don't know what to eat for diabetes. We're going to go back to the child. They don't know what to feed their child to grow. If you can package information that you already know, maybe it's micronutrients or introducing solids, or it's not some type of problem people have related to nutrition, you can find a way to package and sell that online. So you don't need to have one-on-one experience. You just need to know some basic nutrition information that can solve a problem, which we all know because as nutrition professionals, we've learned that information. It's just packaging it in a way that can solve a problem, which goes back to, I believe, was it Tangela's question about how do we differentiate? And it all goes back to asking people what problems they have and then finding ways to package that, whether it's in a course or whether it's in the emails that you're sending for email marketing that Jenny was talking about, or in the conversations you're having with people that you know, and asking them, what do you want to know about nutrition? What kind of feels weird? What's holding you back? What's a question that you're too embarrassed to ask, right? And then the more of the conversations you have like that, the easier it is that you can learn to get into that frame of mind of standing out and solving problems.
Mm-hmm. I do think there's, because we're talking here about these baby steps, right? And we're really focused in on the first few steps. So the idea of just starting with a course, because it could be basic and, enough, but it's going to be probably more, it's still going to give value to your customer base. But then you do that, you get more feedback. Questions come up when people start using the course. You're like, oh, these are great questions. Let me add them to the course. Now it's going to be a better course, and you're going to keep growing and developing that. And the same with counseling, you're going to keep getting better and better, and you're going to keep elevating, keep increasing the amount of value that you're going to give to your customers. And that just helps your business grow. It helps you give different offers, get even better results for your clients. They're going to start referring you more because now they've seen how you can get results. So we're kind of just talking about, it's just that starting, because the feedback that you're going to get that only you can get by doing it is what we're trying to get you to experience. And then it's a snowball effect from there. You can it's going to keep expanding, and you're going to keep developing.
And starting is always the hardest part. And that's why 9 out of 10 times I always talk about it, because it's the conversation that we don't want to have, right? Mm-hmm. It's the fear that somebody will judge us. It's the fear that we're not good enough, despite us being the number one expert in for food and nutrition professionals. So it's just something, to think about. And it's part of, it's just part of this weird position that we're in, where we know we can help, but we have to get over that hump of just the weirdness and awkwardness, and even possibly more so on the internet, because it's just a new way to communicate, and it's a great way to communicate. It just can feel a little strange. So I do fully agree with what Jenny's saying. When you get into the flow, it gets easier. It's just getting to get to the position where you have that flow. I just want to mention, Anna asked a great question. I just want to share real quickly, how did I begin to build connections and start my side consulting while working as a clinical dietitian? That's a great question. I could do a whole YouTube video off of that. I will say to to give a very brief answer, is all about focusing on relationship building skills, and goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I always ask people, what problems do you have? How can I help you with your nutrition problems? And I would go to, I did a lot of work with, I taught dental students and pediatric residents nutrition. And so I built relationships with department heads, and I would ask the department heads, what problems do you see with your nutrition department? And they would say, what do you mean? We don't do anything with our nutrition department. And that's how I would come in, and I would have a pitch and say, well, here is why nutrition is important, and here's what I can do. And then they would say, well, okay, I'll give you a chance, right? And so what I was doing is I was asking people, I was building relationships, asking what problem I could solve, coming in with a solution. I did a talk, got good enough feedback where they rehired me. So I think it's an important question, because it goes to the conversation of just getting started, and it's just getting used to having conversations. And I think for a lot of us, it can feel awkward, but if you bring it back to nutrition, we're all here and we can all connect with having that background and trying to represent nutrition in whatever ways we can, right? Whether it be clinical, corporate, food service, whatever it is, find the problems with nutrition with wherever you are.
Mm-hmm. We're going to close it with one more question. But before we do that, for those of you that are still live or listening to the recording, I will drop the links back in here for the 3 different resources that we have that you can check out on the website. And again, the recordings and the slides will be sent to you tomorrow. So to close it with one more question from Danielle, she's talking about there's the fear of kind of like being valuable, that imposter syndrome, but then there's also the fear of losing your investment or like taking a risk with your own money. And I would also say money and time, right? So what are your thoughts on that? And I can speak to my 5-figure debt and investments and everything as well. Yeah.
I would say, to put my coaching hat on,
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we have these fears, I think a great question I like to ask my clients is, first of all, validate. And that's a true, real thought and feeling. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I love these vulnerable shares tonight. It's really special. We're really getting to the heart of these issues. So thank you. I would ask you and challenge anyone who's feeling similarly, when did you feel a similar way in the past and what happened? And you can either share that in the chat or reflect. And I'll tell you, I felt that way when I went to NYU for grad school. And it was really expensive. And I knew that the salary to be a dietitian was really low. And you know what I told myself? I said, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to pay off my debt and I'm going to figure it out because I love nutrition. And then when I went into business, I did, start as a consultant on the side and then worked up to having it be full time as a now business coach. And it was a similar type of dialogue. You take those small steps, but really ask yourself, when was a time when you felt scared and how did you move past it? And we all, went to school to be a dietitian. So I can't speak for everyone's fear, but I can tell you that I had serious fear. Grad school, undergrad, unpaid internship. I mean, my goodness, school was expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's getting more expensive now with the master's requirement. And yeah, NYU tuition is no joke. I think like my thing with, it's almost like my belief in myself had to outweigh the fear of, not believing in myself, or my belief in myself had to outweigh not believing in myself. And that was the challenge. That was like the lesson that that you learn. And then I did learn, and it got easier and easier. But then it was almost like I was seeking out the discomfort. Like currently now, 15 years in to all this, I'm at the point where I seek out the discomfort. If something feels too comfortable, I'm like, I'm not growing. There's more out there for me. I know I can keep growing and do more, not from like a striving standpoint, but more from just like a creation standpoint. I want to do more in this life and in this field and whatever it is. So it's tough to overcome, but it gets easier. And I think the more you kind of look back at the examples of how you've overcome it before, just in like a smaller scale, gives you that confidence and the belief in yourself that yes, it can work out. And you can even go through, like, I know for myself, I became a dietitian like in the recession, and I was privileged enough to stay with my parents for like 3 or 4 years after my internship while I was building this business, and I wasn't making money and I wasn't able to, get in a city apartment and everything. And I did take a lot of financial risks at the beginning, but it was like I was investing in myself. And like when you invest in yourself, I just think it can't, I don't know, it's always figure outable. And, and you need like that backup plan. I was just gonna say one more thing, like logically, you're like a logical thinker and you need a backup plan. Say what it is you would do. Should you, worst case scenario, go through the process, like, okay, I would get, this, and I don't want to be like so specific because I know everyone's really different, but okay, I would take out this credit card and I would do this and this would be my payment plan. This is how long it would take me, like I would just logically give myself that path if I needed that. And that might help as well to certain people that think like that.
Mm-hmm. So I love hearing your story, Jenny, especially because you've been an entrepreneur for decades, right?
Well, yeah, scrunchy business when I was 10, yes. Multiple decades.
Oh, I didn't even know that. But I mean, Diet All Access is how many?
14 years.
Yeah, so over a decade. So it's so special that y'all are, we're all able to have this conversation together and hear your journey. That's a long time. So a lot of great reflections and such a great role model for all the, students and dietitians.
Thank you. So I guess with that, we'll wrap up here because we're already over time. And I think
Lisa agrees. So getting some love from everybody here. Yes.
I want to thank you, Libby, for taking the time out of your night. I know it's late over there, but thank you so much for giving your insight and your wisdom to our audience. And then trying to think, do you have any closing words or anything that you want to share?
So my request is, can I take a selfie? Because hashtag show your face. I'm going to put it on Instagram at Dietitian Boss. And okay. And other than that, check out my YouTube at Dietitian Boss. Check me out on Instagram at Dietitian Boss. If you have any questions, I've got some free guides on my website. And other than that, I'm just so happy to be able to connect with you all. And if you want to send me a message, if you have any other further questions about fears or anything that has to do with dietetics, I'm here. And just, this is so fun to talk to you. I mean, my dog's about to bark up a storm, so I got to go give him some love, but it's been so fun to hang out tonight. So thanks for having me join your time, your evening.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first ever Business Bootcamp with All Access Dietetics. And I hope everyone has a good rest of their winter break, holiday season. And please, again, reach out to myself as well if you have any questions. I've already gotten some emails from you guys from day one. So looking forward to hearing from you after today. Have a good night. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dear Future Dietitian. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I also hope that you take action based on what you learned today. Now, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to us through our website, allaccessdietetics.com, or DM us on Instagram or TikTok. We are here to help you become a more confident registered dietitian to be and make this journey way less stressful for you. So reach out, don't be a stranger, and we hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.